debates and decisions that are shaping our continent now in Europeans.
Berlin's Jewish community lives in fear. Acts of anti-Semitic violence are growing. Records show that since 2004, these acts of violence have risen 50%. The police spend many hours protecting Jewish places of worship throughout Germany. Today there are little more than 100,000 Jews in the country. The head of the Berlin Jewish community has personal experience of anti-Semitism. Just a few hours before this interview, neo-Nazis attacked a Jewish creche in the suburb of Charlottenburg. A smoke bomb was thrown into the building and Nazi slogans were daubed on the wall.
Unfortunately, these anti-Semitic attacks are becoming daily occurrences. They start at the schools. School children are insulted, and in some extreme cases, pupils are driven out and attacked physically. In Berlin schools, the word Jew is often used as an insult.
The German Ministry for Justice intends to use Germany's presidency of the European Union to lobby for legislation to fight the extreme right. Holocaust denial, already a crime in some European countries, public threats of violence and expressions of racial hatred will be outlawed under new EU laws.
Those who deny the Holocaust deny dignity to the victims.
We're in Halbe, a small town 1 hour by road from Berlin. Today it's protected by 1,200 police officers who have come from all over Germany. Last year authorities were notified of a total of 12,238 offences allegedly committed by the extreme right. The number of offences has soared and is now at the highest level for 6 years. Since 1990 there have been more than 135 deaths attributable to the extreme right. The region holding the dubious record of having the most fatalities, 26, is the district of Brandenburg. Halbe is in Brandenburg. The man who is leading the fight against neo-Nazism is Heinz Joachim Luhmann. The organisation which he chairs is supported by local government, political and private organisations and business.
We can't accept that the neo-Nazis have chosen here, our home district of Brandenburg, to establish their major gathering point. We must fight this. We don't want the ideas of these criminals to gain a hold in our country.
Anti-Semitism, racial hatred and right-wing violence are rising not just in Germany, but in many places in Europe. The EU Agency of Fundamental Rights in Vienna has noted the trend. In Halbe, the neo-Nazis chant and sing, but elsewhere they commit violent attacks which often result in the death of the victim. They may sing, but the neo-Nazis are no choir boys. Few know this better than Klaus Kaliki. The former construction worker has worked all over Europe. For reasons of health he took an earlier retirement, settling in Berlin's east. One night last summer he was woken by a loud noise outside his apartment.
When I went into the corridor in my pyjamas, I discovered that the noise was coming from my neighbour's apartment. I heard people chanting, "No more blacks, no more Jews, stab them so Germany can go forward." I was so furious that I rang their bell, but nobody came to the door. I went back inside for a hammer and I banged on their door. Boom, boom, boom. The door opened, and inside I saw a long machete, the sort of thing an assassin would use, then a man holding it in a threatening way. I said to myself, just what's going on here? And I pulled the door closed and returned to my apartment. I was just about to call the police on my mobile phone when I heard them at my door. They were trying to break it down and it started to crack and break away from the frame. I pushed with all my might using my arms and legs and my body while they beat against the door with the machete. The true scandal of this story is that everyone said to me afterwards, "You didn't have to fight them, did you?" Which says to me, there's a sort of apathy in society. Why did you have to get involved, they said, as if I should have looked the other way, as if I could, as if I should.
The police arrived in time and Kaliki survived. Since then he has moved out. There's an ongoing court case. The Kaliki case is now on the Berlin incident map of the NGO Reach Out, which offers help to victims. Reach Out recorded more than 150 incidents of extreme right-wing violence in Berlin in 2006. The association says there are acts of violence occurring daily in some parts of the city. Since the local elections in September, the extreme right is represented in 5 of the 12 district councils, something never seen before. Within the German Ministry of Family Services, Hermann Kuss and his deputy are trying to bolster the prevention of right-wing violence.
We're trying to mobilize groups within society. That's to say, all organizations and associations, from the Friends of the Voluntary Firemen to sports associations. We want them to refuse to engage with these extremists. Society must face up to these people. We must mobilize the people so they ask themselves, what should we do? It's not the job of the state, it's the task of society.
It's a big day for the computer club of Chemnitz, a city with many social problems in Germany's east. Today the young members have voted democratically for the club's new self-management team. Do-it-yourself and computers are just 2 of the activities which attract young people of all ages, all backgrounds and all political colours.
Our project is called Xenos Creative Spaces. Here in the Computer Club we want to educate young people in the ways of tolerance, and at the same time we teach them skills to prepare them for work.
Understanding and tolerance is also being taught in Berlin. The Anne Frank and Otto Veit museums are places which recall the courage of those who hid Jews during the Nazi regime.
We try to show the history of the life of Anne Frank and to show what happens when different people cannot coexist without fear. And we always ask a question, in which society do we want to live today?
A copy of the diary of Anne Frank was burnt by a group of neo-Nazis last summer. It was the director of the Berlin Museum who made the complaint. To find out what it's really like to be a Jew in Berlin, in Germany or elsewhere in Europe, Gideon Joffer of the Jewish community of Berlin suggests a radical idea.
Those who want to find out what it's like, wear a yarmulke on your head and walk about with it for a few days. Then you'll really see the intensity of anti-Semitism today.
The German proposal to make Holocaust denial in all 27 member states of the European Union an offence is due to come before the Council of Ministers of Justice in Luxembourg in mid-April.